Hello Internet! This is Piou Piou.
And this is Azrod.
And we're here to show you our Solarpunk way of life. First of all, we've got a new camera!
We haven't made much video because, as you may know, those are the 2 weeks with the shortest days in the year.
Also, as you can see, the weather is kind of grey.
So, because we use a solar panel for electricity, we haven't had much electricity those days.
These days, we had around 5 hours of sun, so you can imagine it's not much. Provençal is doing better! She had issues of kidney stones, but now she is the dominant female in the herd. Also, we had another big news. Charizard had babies!
The last few days were spent trying to collect as much electricity as we could so that we could film.
Why are you peeing next to me, you jerk? Look who's coming back! It's Charizard and the babies! Goldman, what are you doing on the table? Move! Now people will be able to see how he's so annoying when we're filming. We're using a 360 camera, meaning that we're filming all around us at the same time. Isn't that great? Now we need to leave without the goats following us, so we're gonna hide in our tent for the time being. We've managed to escape the goats, so now we are going to the city.
That was tiring.
Today we wanted to talk to you about electricity.
We also wanted to talk about cold.
Did you know that 200,000 persons died in France each year of cold?
First, we can make a link with climate change, because as you may know, it doesn't only increase temperature, it also decreases them. The idea is that we will have more extreme weather. But it's not the only explanation. You may not know, but in France we have something called passoire thermique,
which roughly translates to thermal strainers. A thermal strainer is a place that will not keep the heat in winter and that will not stay cool in summer. And with more extreme weather events coming with climate change, well, you can imagine that it's going to be really difficult for people living in thermal strainers.
But that's not the only increase in price. We also see, because of inflation, a surge in the price of most food.
For example, the price of pasta in France went from €1 to €2 and above since inflation. And electricity will increase of 15% this year, and winter is coming. If you didn't know, it's considered not livable below 15 degrees Celsius.
You start to have health issues below 50 degrees Celsius.
Yes. So it means increasing cost of medicines.
Yes, and because most people that live in thermal strainer are mostly poor people, the inflation of food, electricity, and the cost of health means that people that already live in bad condition will only live in worse condition.
And because you can't live without food, but you can handle 15 degrees if you get a coat, well, most people will choose to not pay the price of electricity because they need to buy food to live, you know. That's neat.
And all of this is coupled with a crisis in homing, because like in America, we have multi-millionaire proprietors that have plenty of houses but that won't sell them or rent them because it wouldn't be cost efficient to just let people have decent condition of living.
Because if people fear homelessness, well, they will be more inclined to apply to jobs that are really demanding for health and that are not really fulfilling. But because we don't care about living in the wild, we do not pay electricity nor rent. We use a solar panel to get electricity. So it has been kind of a hassle with the weathers, but with the day getting longer, like I think it's the 22 of December, we're soon gonna be able to enjoy more than 5 hours of sun each day, which means more electricity, which means more vlog. Also, we are lucky because we settled in a place where the weather rarely goes below 0 degrees Celsius, which means it's rarely freezing.
Because of this, even during the winter, with multiple layers of clothing, so even with the coldest temperature we can have in the regions, we manage to stay warm with just multiple layers.
For example, we are wearing right now 2 layers of sweaters, and the sweaters are not made of plastics, but they are made of wool, in French it's laine, because it keeps the heat in more efficiently.
And because we have a chameleon, as you may or may not know, we need to be really wary of the temperature inside of the place we sleep.
Under our blankets at night, we manage to stay around 25 to 30 degrees.
Which is more than enough for the chameleon. Which begs the question, how 2 random people from Paris, that used to be just basic students, managed to stay alive in the middle of nature during the coldest period, and on the other hand, 200,000 people die each year
of cold. In France, we have something called social security, which is basically universal healthcare, which has been threatened and destroyed for the past few years by our government because they prefer to privatize healthcare.
I'd say 20 years, not few years.
Yeah. We used to have great healthcare. We don't. That's still better than in the United States. That's better than nothing, but we are fighting to keep our healthcare.
Unfortunately, the rising political movement of the nationalist, no. Comment on dit Rassemblement National? The Rassemblement National, because we have a great English.
There is a political party from the far right that wishes to dissolve healthcare completely, so it's completely privatized, and that would be really, really bad. I mean, just see what happens in the United States. Well, I would rather live in France, that's all I'm saying. Apart from health, France's education system and housing system is also failing at increasing rapid rate. We have more and more people living in the streets, like us, but more people are not willing to live in the streets. We made a choice, and we were not forced to live like that, but we did decide to live like that because it would be healthier, and because we knew we wouldn't have the same
condition of living as our parents.
Exactly. Because we knew that if we really tried, we wouldn't really be able to reach the same condition of living our parents did, because of how
capitalism is fading everywhere.
Yeah. And because we didn't really envy the way our parents used to live and the conditions they lived in, we decided to do this on our own terms. That's why we are here. Isn't it beautiful? We need to walk 1 hour each time we need to hitchhike. So that's great for sports.
We don't pay charge that people usually pay. No rent, no electricity, no water, no internet, but just our phone bill basically.
We decided to live without a job. We're trying to sustain ourselves with the least amount of money possible because, you know, humans were hunter-gatherers for a few hundreds of thousands of years. Why not start again now?
Actually, it was around 115,000 of years. So not multiple hundreds.
Actually, the thing that I think is important to remember is that agriculture is fairly recent and the industrial era is even more recent. So maybe we could realize that our modern way of living is not the norm. Patriarchy is not the norm, and patriarchy, thank you, is not the norm. So maybe we could try something else. The definition says that we live in non-healthy lifestyle, but actually what we've noticed since we started this project around 8 months ago is that we are way more healthy.
We feel so much better in so many ways.
We are so much fit, and we are well healthier in our head, because personally I'm way less anxious than I used to be when I needed to wake up at a special hour to go to work.
Personally, I always had issue sleeping when I was young, and I was insomniac actually. So it was a really big issue when I was in high school. Afterwards I had so much work and so much pressure that I fell asleep basically right away. So one problem was fixed, but on the other end I was a little bit of stress. And nowadays I have so much time to sleep, and I sleep so well that
we only have 5 hours of sun each day because we are near the winter solstice. So you can imagine that we sleep 10 hours, like, whew.
And it's really, really relaxing. Maybe even a bit too much because I'm having trouble getting asleep again. But because I don't have something pressing or stressing to do afterward, like work, an exam or something like that, even if I oversleep or have trouble falling asleep, it's no issue.
And also, prior to living here, we used to have a mattress, a really nice and expensive mattress, a 500 euro mattress, like a queen size, baby, like it was nice. And we brought it here.
Yes.
And we used to put it where we sleep, but we had still issues with our back, so we tried sleeping directly on the floor. And a free floor is actually way more comfortable for your back and strengthens all your muscle when you sleep compared to a really expensive bed.
The first few days or even weeks can be
straightening, maybe, or like
hurtful, I would say.
Yeah.
But after a bit of getting used to it, it's way better.
And the funniest thing is that most people would guess that sleeping on the floor would be worse for your back and for your health. But actually it's not, because we evolved, like other animals did, to live a less comfortable life that we do today. Another thing that we do, we fast. We tend to eat only one meal a day. We don't eat, what's the day? No, petit déjeuner. Petit déjeuner.
Breakfast.
We don't eat breakfast.
Because it literally breaks your fast.
Exactly. And we usually just cook at noon. And because we cook with fire, we take around 1 hour to do the food, but because we don't work and we only cook once a day, well, it's not that long actually. And we do really big portions. This way we can give our leftovers to our chickens and our dogs that also get complimented, the dogs, with meat from like fresh leftovers from really nice butchers that we know in our regions, and that we're going to see today. Another thing that's really important to help you survive a winter in the wild, two things actually. One is sport, because if you exercise, your body produces heat, and if you are used to exercising, you can produce heat very efficiently. This way you will not be cold. And the second tip, if you do this progressively and you just like not 25 degrees in your house and 0 degree outside, and you live outside, well, basically your body, like animals, will adapt to be more warm So now I can be at 5 degrees outside, walking barefoot with only like these two
Layers.
of sweaters and no pants, because sometimes I don't wear pants because we don't have neighbors, so it's fine. And I'm not cold because my body learned to produce heat, and I used to be. Comment on dit frisqué? Enfin, c'est,
And I used to be cold sensitive.
And I used to be cold sensitive. At home, I really needed the house to be 25 degrees all time because I was so cold all the time.
And I was telling them to wear a sweater.
Actually, my mom did not believe that I could survive this way, and she was telling us all the time, you will see, she won't be able to survive. She always used to put the
Thermostat.
yeah, the thermostat really up because I was cold. I am not anymore, I'm so warm. So now that we know that you can be healthy and live outside, and that you can be really unhealthy living in society, how can we think of a new society, a Solarpunk society, that combines both being healthy, living more closely and in more proximity to nature, and dampening like the bad side of the capitalist society we all live in, unfortunately. Some architects invented incredible way to build houses. For example, there is a super adobe way. So super adobe is a material. Adobe is a material that is a mix of clay. C'est quoi? C'est de la paille.
Hay.
Clay, hay, and y a pas un troisième truc?
Water.
Yes, clay, hay, and water that you mix together, and it will harden into a semi-permeable material. Also, some people use some techniques with dirt bags houses. So basically use polypropylene bags, which are really cheap. Basically, this is the bags where you buy potatoes or sand with, you know, and you fill those bags with dirt, any kind of dirt. Actually, this technique was invented to build houses on Mars, I believe. But this can also be used like on Earth, and you put any kind of dirt in the bag and you build an igloo basically with the bags, which is really cheap and really efficient, and can even resist earthquakes. Also, do you know about earthships? Earthships were invented by an architect in the United States, and it's really useful because they used trash basically. So for example, old beer bottles, like glass bottles, or so wine of glass bottles,
Tires,
and dirt. You create a mound using the tire that you fill with dirt that you pack like really tight, and you use bottles. So adobe is used to create walls, and the glass bottles are used to create windows, which make really unique type of housing. And because you build them yourself, well, you can create something that's like artistic for you, if you see what I mean. Airships were designed for the desert du Nouveau-Mexique, New Mexico desert in the United States, which is a really arid area. Inside the Earthship is thought a greenhouse, so plants can grow inside. There is also a way to collect rainwater, and this rainwater is used to alimент the whole house. And those kind of housing are kind of cheap. You can build one for approximately $50,000. So it's less than hundreds of dollars for a house, you know.
What's really interesting with all of those different ways to think and build is that if you think about it, you don't have to use only... Merci. If you think about it, we don't have to use as much concrete as we use. We don't have to think only of the most effective way to pack as many people in the same building to be able to maximize profits. You can think of a different way to house everyone that will be more connected with nature and that everyone will be able to have a better life with.
Actually, in the past, many designs of housing were really well thought. For example, in Europe, where we used to make a lot of cheese and wine, there was built-in cellars where you could keep fresh all year long your cheese and your wine. And it's also true in various climates. Where it's cold, people build houses that could get the warm inside efficiently, and where it's warm, people build houses that could cool themselves with natural built-in systems, which is really well thought of. Also, humans are an amazing species because we colonize nearly every continent. I think we exist on every continent, aside from Antarctica or Antarctica?
Antarctica.
Aside from Antarctica, but we colonize basically all the Earth, and we thought of different ways to build houses in those different environments. For example, here we have lots of rocks. So people used to build houses with rocks, which keep in summer the inside of the house really cool, and in winter, when you make a fire, it keeps the place warm. So it's really efficient. But in places where the heat is way harder to handle and where there are less trees and rocks, other ways of houses were invented that weren't using the same materials, but that were also really efficient and well thought of for the place. For example, in places where there is a lot of ice, we invented, not we, but humans invented igloos, which are really, really, really incredible to keep the warmth inside and not melt, which is amazing. I wouldn't be able to do that, but people do.
And that's the beauty of Solarpunk. You make do with what you have and you create something beautiful.
Something that is fairly amazing is that electricity is really recent, but nowadays most people wouldn't know how to live without electricity. I mean, how will you heat yourself without electricity? How will you cook? How will you keep your food fresh? Well, people knew how to keep food fresh for years around in the past without keeping them fresh, in cold climate. And it's the same for heating. So I think that nowadays we may be too much dependent on some kind of technologies that are great, because, for example, without electricity, I wouldn't be able to speak on this amazing camera. So, it's great. But some things we could do without, I believe.
Especially when you consider how badly effective a refrigerator is.
Yeah. Refrigerator or fridge are really bad, and they are a nest for bacteria. So please clean your fridge, or even better, throw it out. Anyway, that's it for today. We love you and appreciate you. See you. Bye.